Welcome into another edition of the Stingers Up, Sacramento State Football Podcast. We are here. It is game week for the Hornets. They will open up their season against San Jose State on Thursday, but we got another podcast to get you ready for that because we got to catch you up on the offense and what to expect from the 2024 Hornets from their coaches on the offensive side. Also a conversation today, a longer, in-depth one with head coach Andy Thompson. Let's start, though. Let's meet the guys up front. So important to any team's success, the offensive line. Coach Chris Richardson has been so instrumental in the success of this program, what they have done up front, and they've got some studs coming back this year for sure. So we start with Coach, asking him about the upcoming season. After all the work that he's done, that they have done, is this the best time of year for him and the Hornets?
I mean, you put all this work in the offseason and, you're 1 week away from games. So, that's where the fun really begins. But our guys have put in a ton of work, and we're excited to go out and compete and show what we can do.
Now, when you come back to a new group, but you have a stud returning in Jackson Slater, how much peace of mind to have just an All-American candidate there to anchor your line?
Yeah, it's great. Obviously, Jackson, is the leader of the room. One of the hardest working guys I've ever been around. Again, not a rah-rah leader. He just shows up every day and does the work. And he's been a guy that over the years has completely helped us change the culture of the O-line room from the standpoint of the extra work that needs to happen in the offseason. He'll take all the guys out along with Caden Richardson, my son. They'll go out. They'll bring the whole group out, and I can't be out there with them due to hours and restrictions, but I can tell those guys, hey, go install inside zone, go install this pass protection, work these drills. And I got guys, senior leaders, that take them out and put the guys through the drill. So it's pretty awesome. And obviously Jackson's a proven guy. He's been a 3-year starter for us. He's an All-American. So yeah, he's when you got a guy like that, it definitely helps.
I know you're worried about this year, but there are scouts that come out here. Is he a guy we might see on Sundays?
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, I project him that way. I mean, he's a 6'3", 315-pound guy that can run like a deer, and physical and tough and smart, can play. For us, he can play all 5 positions. I can plug him for anywhere from left tackle all the way through over to the right tackle, and I would still think he'd be one of the top linemen in the conference regardless what position. And again, you'll see him in a couple different spots, and he is definitely a guy that I believe is an NFL caliber player for sure.
Now that you've been here long enough, it feels like you have built this as you've got guys like that are established all league, seniors, played a lot of time, then the group below, and so on and so forth. But they kind of all are monitoring one another. Is this kind of the way it should be? Is this how you envisioned it?
Yeah, when you've been here, what am I going on 6th year now? So I've got an established room of guys that I recruited. So again, it's just kind of you plug in as guys graduate. You talk to the guys that are going to be, the future leaders and how they should run things. And again, you got guys, like I said, Jackson Slater, Caden Richardson, then you throw in Nate Mejia and Aiden Meek. These are guys that have been with me now, when you count COVID, 4 and 5 years, and then it makes it easy in the off season when I can't spend as much time that, hey, I got a young guy, Jose Soto and Cade Gretline and Richard McKay. Hey, you guys take these guys out and mentor them and teach them and get them rolling. And again, it's like having extra coaches in the room. Mm-hmm. So, and again, we're in the established, we're going to play the best players. There is no pecking order in terms of I'm a senior, I get to play.
Right.
But I think the way we do things and the way we coach it and the way we watch film, guys always know kind of where they're at in the pecking order. And again, the ultimate goal, I got 19 guys in my O-line room. The goal is to, I want to play them all. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to, at the end of the day, I got to play the best 5 that give us the best chance to win. And then as a coach, you're always hoping to play as many as possible. But, if the O-line has put in the work and you got a good group, you've always got a chance to win a football game. And I think we have a great group.
You've had great groups here, too. You've had very successful groups. How do you do it? What's your recruiting thought? Because you're getting freshmen, you're getting JC guys, portal guys now too. What is it you're looking for to be a Hornet offensive lineman?
Well, again, obviously in the last couple of years, things have changed with the transfer portal, and we've added a couple guys. Joey Wright from San Diego State, is a big physical young man and doing an awesome job. Tanguy Pongia has been added in, so he's doing awesome. I'm always just looking for guys, that have to be somewhat athletic, right? I would take a 285 guy that's athletic over a 320, 30-pound guy that can't move, So there are certain things. We're all looking for tackles. That's the golden unicorn out there. Everyone's looking for that 6'7" NFL tackle. The reality, there's not a lot of them out there, and so when you do find a couple that can play, you gotta coach them up, get their pass sets right, and just keep building and developing. Sometimes at our level, when you get those bigger guys, it takes a couple years. Everyone wants to play right away. Offensive line play, the reality is the majority have to do a redshirt year and still kind of battle through on scout team, and then you're hoping by their sophomore, junior year they're playing. Now, I've been fortunate enough to have a couple freshmen come in and play, like Jackson, who's going to be a 4-year starter, and Nate Mejia played early. Aiden Meek, played last year as a redshirt sophomore. So I would have some playing experience, but again, intelligence, some athleticism, and obviously the bigger version I can find of that, the better.
Yeah.
So it's you just try and find the right piece too. And again, fitting in our room too is a big part of it. The right attitude. I want guys to just show up with their lunch pail and go to work every day and don't complain. Yeah. And again, got a pretty unique group this year.
Yeah. You've done it before, but still coaching your son, your youngest son. How's that?
Yeah. Obviously coaching my boys has been a blast, and it's always awesome to have that. Both Coop, who's now at Boise, and Caden, who definitely wants to get into the coaching ranks. When they both have that mentality, knowing that, when I leave or I step away or there's things that the group itself can do, I can communicate with those guys to run some installs, or, hey, take these young freshmen and go watch film with them and teach them the rules of inside zone or our pass protections. So, again, that is all, and you'll see Caden, if he's not in the game, he's standing right next to me and we're communicating. He's giving great feedback. I think on the sideline, when I'm coaching and getting after the guys, sometimes as I walk away, he's got to come back and be sure that, that I didn't or if I didn't get my point across, he'll back me up. So it's awesome. It's like having a second coach in the O-line room, and he's doing awesome.
Last thing for you, got to ask you, in camp so far, the offense has looked amazing.
Yeah.
You're part of it. You're seeing it. Your group is a key part of it, but just your thought on what you guys can do offensively this year.
Yeah, again, every year you're trying to get better as an offensive staff, and again, we have a lot of returning talent, at every position, and then we've had some key additions, but another year together, again, we weren't hit, say as hard as maybe the defense was with graduation, so we've got a lot of experienced guys and a lot of really talented players. You think of Coleman Kuntz, you think of Elijah Tolliver, Caden Bennett, Carson Conklin, just to name a few. You got Anderson Grover. And it's exciting, knowing you have that many guys that are consistent and can be weapons. And it stresses the defense when you don't just I only have one receiver or only got one. Hey, we got multiple guys. We can spread the ball around. That's what alleviates a lot of pain for me in the box, is if we can keep you spread out, and then now we can establish the run game with a light box. And then on the flip side, if we are in a 2 tight end set hammering the ball, we have some deep threats that can take the top off. So, again, we can be a challenge. I think if you talk to Coach Thompson, we're very challenging. But, again, the experience and knowledge of the returning guys definitely helps that.
Well, as you can hear, I've been saying it in the last podcast, and so far the offense has been looking good in camp. We'll see how good they are when the season starts for real against San Jose. Now, also part of the offensive line, but a little bit more versatility here, are the tight end group. They're coached by Jeremy LePan. Let's get a little bit more knowledge on what their room looks like, as they've got an experienced group, but they do have to replace one of the Hornet legends in Marshall Martin.
Yeah, there's no denying Marshall Martin was a great player for us, and holds all the records for tight end play at Sacramento State. A phenomenal player in person. Coming up through the ranks, and Coleman Kuntz got a lot of reps for us last year. He's the ultimate alpha dog. He helps lead our offense, leads our team, and really competitive, wants to get better every single day, is not complacent with just going through the motions. He's got goals in his life, and he's striving each and every day to take the step in the right direction. So athletic, catches the ball well, he's put on 10 pounds since last year, so he's 240 right now. Athletic, working on his mobility. His mobility is really good. Great route runner. Added Jay Rudolph from San Diego State. Phenomenal blocker, good pass catcher. And so really, I mean, when you look at Jay Rudolph and Coleman Kuntz standing next to each other, they're almost carbon copies of each other as far as appearance-wise. Around 6'3", 240 each guy, and they're going to be mainstays for us. And then alongside those two guys, we got Austin Gerard, who's been with us for 2 years and super fast. 6'4", 240, can run like the wind, great hands. A local kid from Oak Ridge too, so he's a kind of a hometown hero in this area, and he's more. Actually, Jay Rudolph's really silent too, but Austin's super silent, but he cares so much about the football team, and but they're all really led by Coleman Kuntz. He's just an alpha dog.
Yeah. I've heard so much about him from the off season. Kind of set up where leadership was kind of encouraged, and he jumped right in. His team won. He owned that, and every coach has kind of signaled him out. So what does it mean for you to coach him, knowing that you got to get on your guys or praise him, but you also have a guy that might kind of self-police the group?
Oh yeah, whenever you have leaders on the football team and you can encourage them to lead, every great team I've ever been a part of, they have to have leadership within the team. It's one thing for me to say something and coach something up, but when you have a player, one of your peers saying, no, this is how we do things, you gotta get in line. We're staying after practice, we're doing all this stuff without me there, because he wants to reach his goals, right? Personal goals, also team goals, and he does everything with the best interest of the football team. So there's some guys who waver, right? They're geeked up one day, and the next day they're kind of like, oh, it's cool, like let's just leave early. He's not that guy. Every single day, it's like he's got a mantra on his mirror, right? And he's looking at it every single day, and he's saying, no, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And so he's got a fire under his butt, and yeah, I can't state it enough, but I think your team only goes as far as your leadership, and we got a great leader in Coleman Kuntz.
That's awesome. What in your mind makes a good tight end? What do you want from that position from your guys?
Yeah, first and foremost, recruit guys who are ultra competitive. So you got to have a player who's really competitive, and then somebody who wants to be really good. And so Coleman wants to be really good, and he's worked at it, right? Out of high school, you can see the fire, the tenacity, and you saw some of the athletic ability, but he's developed that, and he's cultivated the athletic ability. But you got to be able to catch the ball well. Got to have some twitch, some explosiveness, and then he's shown the ability to get yards after the catch, which Marshall Martin was phenomenal at, right? And so. Guys who are twitchy, catch the ball well, have a burning desire to be great. And if you have those three things, obviously you got to have a little bit of size, a little bit of speed, athleticism. But, the between the ears and having a little bit of twitch is kind of the secret recipe, I think.
And he found a nose for the end zone. You guys were running him at the end of the year down at the goal line. He was finding the end zone, wasn't he?
Oh, he was loving it. It was funny because he won't want me to tell us, but the first time we handed him the ball in a scrimmage, he fumbled, and he was texting me. He's like, please don't take me off of that. Please don't take me off of that. And we're like, oh, we'll give you another shot.
Yeah.
And then from then on, he's just, when we call his number, he's going to get in that end zone. And North Dakota versus them, we called the same play. I think, was it 2 touchdowns he had in that game? 3 carries for 2 touchdowns. But yeah, he does a great job of just seeing the ball through all the way through, keeping his eyes up, and then he's just churning those feet for those extra dirty. He's really upset that college football doesn't have like a fullback, because he would love to be I just want to be a fullback and hit people and run around. He's like, I love catching routes, I love catching the football, but if there's that deal where I can just go and kick guys out, and in our short yards goal line package, he's kicking guys out. Yeah. He's running slide routes. He's getting handoffs from under center. He's doing a little bit of everything. So he's our Swiss Army knife, and can't say enough great things about Coleman Kuntz and really the rest of our tight end group. But he leads the way for sure.
Coleman Kuntz, part of a variety of talented tight ends, should be a strength for this upcoming season. All right, from there we move to the quarterbacks and the offensive coordinator, Bobby Frescus, longtime Hornet as a player. He's been a coach a couple different times and now back with this group. Will coach the quarterbacks, will be the offensive coordinator as well. And Bobby shares his thoughts on the 2024 Hornets.
I'm excited. It's there's a lot of time that goes in between, the end of one season and the beginning of another. And I was just talking about this with some of the coaches the other day. You only get 12 games that are promised, and you only get to play once a week. It's not like basketball or it's not like baseball where you could get 2, 3, 4 games in a week, and those weeks, win or lose, it's a long time and a lot of preparation that you put in. So it's nice that it's finally here.
Well, tell us about the work you've had to put in with guys that fans know, Caden Bennett, Carson Conklin, but your whole quarterback room. What was that other time that people don't see? What were you trying to implement with that group?
It's a lot of time that you put in that starts in January. That of course they're going to be in the weight room, but we get to meet with them a little bit throughout in preparation for spring ball. So there's really 4 phases throughout the year. So we get them in winter ball, and we're starting to learn the system, and then they go over it again once they get to spring ball. Then after spring ball, they go to summer ball where they get to do their player ran practices, and they're conducting the practices on their own. So by that time, with it being the third time through, they have a pretty good grasp of what's going on, so that when we hit it for the fall, you'd like to think that they're pros by that time, as far as really knowing the system and executing it. And I think it's showing because both Caden and Carson have been in the program for a while now, and it's showing because their decision-making, the execution of the offense, their leadership is just so much better. So I'm really happy with their progress and where they are right now.
And for your quarterback room to have those two, what does that do for the other 3 guys that you have, just the experience that they can share?
I talk to them often, and they're kind of soft-spoken guys, well-liked by the team, and I always tell them, you guys don't have to be, a leader. It just comes with the position. It's inherent with the position, so you being a leader is just being a good person, good teammate, making good plays, making good decisions, because then by them doing that, it just gives the rest of the team so much confidence, and then that leadership is just within the position. And then for the younger guys, and we have a JC transfer, and Jordan Barton and Luke Baker, a new kid from San Ramon Valley, they get to see how it's done by guys who have been here before and have done it at a really high level.
Well, last year we saw Conklin play. We saw Caden play a lot. Success for both of those guys. What are your expectations for those two this year?
I'd like to see them both be leap and bounds from where they were last year. Caden, just in regards to his decision-making and the fact that he has, a wealth of experience from last year. He hadn't played in 3 seasons prior to that, and it's tough for a quarterback because there's no substitution for game experience. So the fact that he was able to get on the field, I think it's going to pay huge dividends. And the fact that we got to use Carson for those 4 games and him still retain his redshirt year was huge. So going into this season, I'd like to see, KB kind of pick up where he left off. The only thing is he's just going to have to play smarter because he did some things last year that really subjected himself to some injury. And when you're injured, you can't play with the confidence, that you have when you're healthy. So play smarter in regards to just making better decisions, live to see another play, don't take big hits, slide if you have to, run out of bounds if you have to. You don't have to, you're not proving anything by trying to run somebody over. Let's get them for the next play. But I saw that this fall thus far, and I'm really looking forward to it. And then just with Carson, those two push each other. They have a great relationship, and I can't wait to see them go at it this year.
On Caden, it's got to be tricky because some plays he's able to make just being a phenomenal athlete. But then, like you said, can you sense when you're going to get hit? What's the fine line there of go make a play if you need to, but also we need you on 2nd down and 3rd down and so on?
Yeah, it just comes with a lot of film study. Some of those things I always tell these quarterbacks, if you take number 1 in the progression, it's a good living. So it's really turned into comedy in our meeting rooms, and I don't even think anybody laughs at what we share in the meeting room. But I always say, hey, if you take number 1, it's a good living. So I always ask them, what's a good living? And at first they didn't really know what to say, and then now it's like, well, good living is kind of having hot water, or having food in the fridge, or having a good dog, roof over your head. So it turns into that Darius Rucker song. So that good living is taking number one, because the other day, Carson threw to number 3 in the progression, and he got it. And I was like, you know what, you're fortunate there, though, because number 3 is not promised. And then 2 days later, he took number 1, and there's a bust in the protection, where if he went to number 3, he'd had his head knocked off. So that's being smart and making good decisions, because I can't guarantee the protection's going to be there. I can't guarantee the receiver's going to be there. But what I can guarantee is if a receiver is open and he's number 1 or number 2 in the progression, take what they give you.
Yeah.
That's it. It's kind of simple.
Yeah.
But, I guess it's easier said than done.
Sure. How about for you? You've obviously played the position. You've worked as a coordinator before. Another year at this, is it easier for you? Just more comfortable doing it?
Definitely more comfortable doing it. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
The confidence will definitely be there. I felt good calling it last year, which is nice. And of course, it comes with, support of the staff,
mm-hmm.
the offensive staff, because once you're prepared and you go into the game with a game plan, you have a lot of confidence. Just last year, I thought there's a lot of choices, sometimes too many.
Mm-hmm.
This year, the goal is to really buckle that game plan down, and that comes from a lot of study and a lot of conversations with people around the country, from NFL to other coordinators in college. We really want to tighten that game plan up so that the quarterbacks could have more confidence in knowing it, so I could have more confidence in getting to the whole call sheet, because it's unsettling when you have 150 plays on the call sheet, mm-hmm. and you call, you only have 75 plays in a game.
Yeah.
We got to find a way to narrow that down so that we can execute at a high level.
Well, as you know, too, you're as good as, you can have the best quarterback, but if he's not protected, doesn't have skill players, as the offensive coordinator, what are the weapons and protection looking like?
The protection's awesome. It's anchored by Jackson Slater, and, we have some experience up there with Aiden Meek, and, we have some other guys like Caden Richardson, who's a coach's boy, playing for his dad, Chris. So that adds a lot of valuable experience, which is huge. And then you add a guy like, Jose Soto, I believe. Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah.
That guy is so explosive. He's just a freshman, but he adds experience. And then you see a guy like Sawyer Hayes, and then Joey Wright from San Diego State, that just adds depth, which is huge. That's a quarterback's best friend, the lineman. But at the same time, you need good running backs, and then you need people on the perimeter who could really lift the lid. And when you got guys like that, then it opens up the whole game plan.
Yeah. Makes it more fun for you, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. I still think like a quarterback, and I still hear myself, Coach Knapp talking to me. Just, try to manage the game. Try to get yourself ahead of the sticks. Try to put yourself in good third down situations. So, I don't want to be the guy just having played the position, thinking we could just throw all day. I want to be able to protect the quarterbacks. I want to put them in good situations, manage the game, and just play complementary football. If we have to play field position, let's do so. But if not, let's just go out there and use all those weapons that we have.
All this work, what's the excitement like to start a season?
Oh, it's exciting, but with the success that we've had, the expectations are high, mm-hmm. and it's a good feeling though, because I like those expectations being high. We have to come out fast. We're playing 2 FBS schools in San Jose State and Fresno State. 2 really good programs, but I think we're at that level where we can go down there, we can compete with them, and we've shown that in years past, playing Colorado State and playing Arizona State and playing Stanford. So when we take the field, it's going to, be at the expectations to compete and win. So I look forward to it. There's a lot of excitement, but it's a long season. It's a 12-game season this year, and then
hopefully more.
Then hopefully more, and then you get into the playoffs. It could be a 16-game season.
Yeah. So, I know you're ready for it.
Oh, we are. And just like I tell the quarterbacks, how do you get back into a game? One play at a time. How do you win a game? One play at a time.
Mm-hmm.
How do you look at a season? Just one game at a time. Yeah. That's it.
Well, that first chance at the one game at a time thought, again, San Jose State coming up this week. All right, let's move to the backfield. The running backs, equally important to a success of the offense. The running back coach is Donnell Pumphrey, one of the great college running backs in the history of the sport at San Diego State. Now is in year 2 at Sacramento State, and we talk about how he's adjusted to year 2 versus that first year with the Hornets.
It's a completely different transition, feel a lot more comfortable, especially, with the offense, as well as, more comfortable with the guys and understanding the scheme and everything. second year around, just continue to try to learn, within the scheme and develop my role.
What did you learn about yourself as a coach? I mean, obviously a phenomenal player, but it's different when you're trying to lead the group. How was that for you?
As a coach, it's totally different. You can't try, because I constantly like, how do you not see that? How do you not see that? But it's totally different for a player, because at the end of the day, there's a lot that they, it's experience that they need to gain, and that's the biggest thing. And kind of, try to explain to them everything that I know. That's been the biggest and toughest thing that, that I would say, in my opinion, just exploring that.
How about your room? You got 7 guys, all kind of different varieties, sizes, talent level. I mean, they're all talented. Age level. What do you think about your group for this year?
I think I have a very strong group, if not one of the strongest groups on the team. From the top down, in my opinion, I got 2 new freshmen who have shown that they can play at this level. It's just more so gaining that experience. But as far as my top 5 guys, I feel like there's not a huge drop-off. Tal Tolliver, he's played a ton since he's been here. You got Ezra as our leader in the room. And then you got young guys like Karan, Zeke Burnett, who have shown a lot of promise. I mean, Zeke, he's, his production last year, 8 yards a carry. You can't look past that. So I'm just really excited to see what these guys can do this year.
How's their bond? Because obviously, look, everybody wants every carry, right? But you can spread it out. So how are they competing yet also kind of working with team goals?
At the end of the day, my guys, they know the standard in the room, and I think I do a good job with setting that as far as, you have to, bring the competition. Like that's there's no questions asked regarding that. But I mean, they're pretty close, and they know that they're getting the best out of each other. We had this offseason, we had Akello Witherspoon who played in the NFL. He's also from Sacramento. He had a conversation with those guys and kind of, watch my language, but he kind of said, F the guys in the room, but at the end, because it's more so the competition. At the end of the day, we love you and all that, but it's at the end of the day, it's iron sharpens iron, and you got to have that competition. I think it's great for the room.
Yeah, for sure. And to now know that you have up-and-comers pushing the guys that have experience, the guys that have been in the battles where they've been in playoff games or at Montana and tough places to play, you feel like your group is ready for any environment?
Oh, I think, yeah, for sure. I think we're ready for any environment. I think in order to get far, you're going to have to be able to run the ball a ton, and I think last year we weren't able to run the ball as much as we wanted to. Like, I know they were very successful in the past with Scadaboo and Fulcher, but this year I think we're ready to answer the bell.
Yeah. And you played the position obviously very well. What makes a good running back?
You got to have 5 essential traits. You got to be, because as you know, everything's not going to be blocked the right way every single time. You got to be able to get yards at any point in time, right? You got to be able to be elusive. Got to be able to catch the ball at the backfield, protect, and make guys miss. As well as the biggest thing of it all, you got to have some type of physical toughness. If you're not an alpha about yourself or run with attitude, then you probably can't play for me, because I demand that.
Yeah. And how do you detect that? I guess you can. You have to on film when you're recruiting these guys. Is that a challenge?
It is a challenge, but a lot of the time it's learning their personality when you meet those guys. Yeah, you can see it on tape, but when you meet them and learn about their personality and their background, and that's what kind of fires you up in wanting to, really bring that guy in.
All right, last thing for you as we embark on the season, watching camp so far, the offense has looked really good. How do you separate that from being, okay, we might have something pretty special, or you just got to wait and see what happens when you play San Jose State and the rest of the schedule?
I think we're going to be really good this year offensively. Obviously you've seen us out there, but it's just going to be more so based on staying together. I think last year we had the talent, but there was a lot of, egos involved. And I think if we put those egos involved and, stay balanced and stay together, then I think we can go pretty far.
Pretty exciting, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Fall season's finally here.
Well, I think you could tell that Coach Pumphrey is fired up and ready to go. Now let's meet one of the new coaches at the wide receiver group. Coach Coleman joins the Hornets. He will coach the wide receivers this year, and we ask him to start things out with how he ended up at Sacramento State.
Yeah, so I got a call from Andy Thompson one of the days in January, and he wanted to interview me and give me a shot to kind of have a shot at the receiver job, so it was a good deal to interview, and I guess I did all right. So it's been well, and ever since January, it's been nothing but love and hugs and everything like that. And it's been a great receiver group to be a part of. So I'm super excited. Yeah.
How did you sell yourself? How did you make the connection work?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just how much I pride myself on attention to detail, and I think that resonated a little bit with Andy. You know what I mean? Because that's a big deal with him. So just the attention to detail piece and just the pride piece I have in the game and the passion in the game and receiver play especially, I think that might have resonated for sure.
Well, the room you're joining or you're coaching is pretty good. A lot of returners. What when you look at your group, what do you expect for this year?
Yeah, I expect us to be super explosive. You know what I mean? I tell those guys all the time they got to be a playmaker, and everybody's a playmaker in their own way. You know what I mean? Anderson Grover is going to be a different playmaker than Jared Gibson. You know what I mean? But in your own way, you got to be a playmaker. So I'm expecting us to make a ton of plays, whether it's the run game, the pass game, wherever we're needed. You know what I mean? Even special teams. You know what I mean? Expecting this group to make a lot of plays and really lead the offense. So
I like to ask each position coach too, like what makes a good at their position. So what in your mind makes a well-rounded good receiver?
Yeah. So when it comes to a really good receiver, and I think about this when I look at freshmen and everything too, you need a guy that can explode off the ball, right? That's got to burst off the ball, right? He can really eat up that ground. He's a threat, right? Immediately off the ball. A guy that's got some run after catch ability, right? Being able to make the first man miss is a big deal to me. You know what I mean? So just teaching those guys that, because that is a skill that can be truly taught. You know what I mean? And then the last thing I think is just a genuine playmaker. You know what I mean? Somebody that can maybe create a play out of nothing. You know what I mean? That 50-50 ball might be 80-20 sometimes for that guy. So I think being a playmaker, having some run after catch ability, and then just having that burst, I think that really creates something. So.
Yeah. And then even in every offense, but certainly the Hornets, we see guys blocking downfield too. How the blocking going with this receiving group?
Oh yeah, it's going well. I think the biggest thing with me is I'm really hitting on it. You know what I mean? I'm truly hitting on it. I'm finding time in Indy to make sure we work that along with the other skills. You know what I mean? That we need predominantly in the pass game, but just making sure it's a big deal to me, right? So it becomes a big deal to them.
Yeah,
that's my thing. So.
Speed's a factor too. Danny Scadero's a new to the Hornets as far as last year played the 4 games, but now is going to be out there a lot more. When you have a guy with that kind of speed, what can he do to a defense?
Yeah, he can do a lot of things to the defense. Take advantage of a lot of space. I think that's the thing I'm most excited about. You know what I mean? Once these first couple teams, they may not truly know who Danny Scadero is. You know what I mean? So we might get a leg up in that way. You know what I mean? But as he gets on tape, I'm sure defenses will start to adjust. But the biggest thing with him is he can take them over top, but then he can shut it down too. You know what I mean? So being able to stop and start the way he does, you know what I mean? It's super exciting, and we can do different things with Danny. So I'm excited to see what we end up doing this year with him.
The transfer portal's a reality of college football now, but the Hornets benefit here at a couple of guys with Nicholson and Cope with a lot of experience too. What will they bring to the Hornets?
Oh, they'll bring, again, that explosiveness that we want in this room. You know what I mean? Josh Nicholson, a really good outside receiver for us. You know what I mean? He's coming along with the playbook and things like that, and I'm super excited about him. And Makai Cope, you know what I mean? He's going to be a great piece for us in the slot room. You know what I mean? A different body than Danny, right? He's a little bit bigger, right? A little bit stronger, you know what I mean? So in the run game, he's going to be a real factor, but he can catch the ball too and can make some explosive plays too. So I'm excited about both of those guys. Those guys both bring the explosiveness we need, okay, in that room. So
we've seen Devin Gandy for a couple years. Last year ended short for him with the injury, but he's recovering. He's going to be back this year for you guys, won't he?
Yeah. I'm excited about him. He gets cleared this Thursday, and he's cheesing all the time because he can feel it coming, you know what I mean? And I could tell every time I call him out on it, but he tries to act real tough, but I'm excited for him. I'm excited for him to come help us, you know what I mean, and have another year, okay, with this team, and hopefully it's a healthy year for him. So I'm excited.
So for you, from being at Dayton to Fresno and now Sac State, just, I don't know, the comparisons, every school is a little different. What's it been like being at Sac State?
Yeah, I think it's been great. I feel like I've learned something from every single school, you know what I mean, having Jeff Tepford, you know what I mean, last year at Fresno State, one of the legendary head coaches, and then Rick Chamberlain, who West Coast people might not know, but he's also another legendary head coach. I think he was at Dayton for 40 plus years, you know what I mean? So just learning from those guys and then coming here with a kind of a new scenery, you know what I mean? Coach Thompson, I think it's his second year being a head coach, going on that, and just seeing how he operates and seeing how he goes about different things in a different way. It's a learning experience everywhere, you know what I mean? And learning from Coach Freskis and then learning from different guys on the staff, it's been amazing. So I think the biggest thing with this Hornet culture is we always talk about swarm, right? That's our thing, you know what I mean? And beating that into those guys and seeing those guys truly embody that on the field is the coolest thing I think I've gotten from being here. So
I feel like your guys are doing that in the receiver room.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think they truly embody it. They work super hard, and it's been great to see, and then great to see them kind of put that output out whenever we go in those live periods. So I'm excited about the group, but the team especially. I'm excited to go about this with the staff and then just this whole roster. So Yeah.
Should be a fun year. Welcome to Sacramento.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I think we're all anxious to see what he will do and what this talented group of wide receivers will provide. And lastly, let's hear from the head coach, Andy Thompson, more of a detailed conversation with him about the offseason, the upcoming season as well, and how much it just feels better for him year two as the head man at Sacramento State, if it just feels and sounds better to him.
It does sound better. It's getting more comfortable. And they say comfortable, the rules keep changing, so I'm adjusting to that. But I do think the faces that are in place, especially with all of our coordinators being here, has allowed us to develop as a staff and really try to help the kids on what we need to do to improve. We talked a ton about this offseason as really being consistent with our habits and good habits, not getting into bad habits. And so I feel like the team, since we had a whole offseason together, a whole recruiting class together, I do feel like there has been more consistency in the program. And I also believe we brought in some new faces that have brought good energy, and that's in our coaches and our players. And every year I think college football is really going to be how well can you get that group to connect for that one season, because that's really the only thing you're guaranteed. And I think we're on our way to doing that. Fall camp's been a good test of offense and defense working together and making each other better, but it does feel a lot more comfortable in year two.
To bring that unity, I've heard about that you kind of had a game, an off-season game of different things, whether it's in the community, supporting the school and other sports, having captains, and kind of tell us the story behind that. What was the value in that, and what do you think you achieved with kind of this off-season competition of bonding?
Two things we wanted to get. We wanted to have some emergers, leaders emerge earlier, and then we wanted to try to challenge these guys that we don't want to change on Saturdays in the fall to have to be disciplined. We want to be disciplined, and we want to be consistent with our behavior and how we react when things aren't always easy. And so the only way to do that is to practice that each week with competitive scenarios. And felt like if we put the guys in more, tough workouts, being held accountable on every part of what they're doing, then we wouldn't have to get ready for the game. We would be ready for the game. And our strength staff did an amazing job of tracking all those things, and our players did a great job of responding to that accountability and trying to build it more responsibility instead of I have to do it. I want to do this because this is going to help us when things get tough around us. And so, we're looking forward to seeing how that pays us back here soon. But I do believe it built camaraderie. I do believe it built service. That's one of our core values is getting out in the community and serving others and being thankful for what we have. And I think there was a lot of that this last semester.
I think when that's done, and I don't know, you can tell me if the players felt it, but they're trying to get back to the community.
Yep.
But what they get back, I hope they appreciate that too, because there's a reward in that.
Yeah, so much. We did a special needs prom, and you talk about, those kids giving back to our kids. Our kids volunteered to be dates and to serve food, and just the smiles on our guys' face and how much they got out of the experience. Was something they're going to remember for a long time. And then just getting around to our, 21 sports we have here at Sac State and getting to see other teams compete and how they do things and being at those games and sharing some bonds on, not just in the facility all the time was helpful. And we had a good time cheering together at some basketball games and some softball and all the different events that go on at Sac State. So, there was some Hornet pride that I really felt like spread, and I'm hoping that just becomes how we do things every offseason.
So as that happens, you're trying to emerge leaders who, in your mind, that you now go, okay, we're having a tough week. We had a tough quarter. We had a bad series. This person's going to self-police the offense or the defense. Who did you feel like maybe is ready to take on some of those roles for the year?
Yeah, a guy that, people know of, but I don't know how big an impact they think, he has is Coleman Kuntz, tight end, and he really stepped up. His team won the challenge for 16 weeks and was very consistent. He pops in my brain. Mason Brusso, defensive lineman, that again is going to play a lot of football for us. He emerged as doing that. And then Caden Bennett got very consistent with his habits. He moved closer to campus. He's got a place real close so he could be at the facility a lot more. It was fun to see him, his maturity through the offseason. And then Jackson Slater's just been rock. When your best players are your hardest workers, it really propels your team to another level. And so those four pop in my brain. Jared Gibson had a great offseason. Grover, wide receivers, they're out catching passes. They're around. Defensive back DJ Houston really has had a great offseason, really stepped up his leadership. And then Gavin Davis-Smith. So they've done a good job. And then the other one is Will Lotus coming and just been a really steady hand. So those would be some of the guys that I think of.
So when you've been here, you've made the playoffs, you've won conference championships, expectations raised, preseason rankings in the top 10. Those are all fine, but what are your expectations of the 24 Hornets?
Yeah, I think all the things you said, are always on my mind. But how do you
put a label on it?
How do you put a label on it? I've tried to put it on my label with we need to bring our best, and bring your best every day. Because when we do that, man, it looks great out there. And I think we have a training environment that kids enjoy. They like improving. But you can't just go through it. If you want to be your very best, you've got to strain. You've got to give it all. And every year, you got to step back up and you got to do it again. And how many days in a row can you bring your best? And I think every sports team is trying that. But I feel like that encapsulates what I'm trying to bring to our program. If every coach, every player, every donor, every administrator, every athletic trainer brings their best, I feel like the results will take care of itself because we have talent.
Yeah.
It'd be different if we were sitting here and go, man, I don't know if we got enough. We've got talent. We just have to be at our best because it's a very competitive world we're in. And if you don't bring your best, it's really tough to have the success that you want.
Yeah, conference is loaded. The schedule's tough. I mean, it's going to take a lot as you get ready for the year. In camp, watching the offense, they look really sharp. What's your thoughts on your offense for the year?
Exactly what you said. I think they look sharp. They look mature. The timing that they have in the passing game has been impressive, especially early, because these are just not short passes. They've been hitting on some long ones with coverage on them. So I think that's been the standard here. And you talk about the schedule, and we could go back to 2019 and playing Arizona State and Fresno State. You could go to, last year, a lot of the tough conference games on the road. But the one thing we've tried to do here is we've tried to find a way to have success as a team. Yeah. The offense has been a huge part of our success here since I got here in 2019, and there's a lot of people to thank for that, but it has come down to guys being able to make plays in the running game and the passing game consistently with a great offensive line that can have 5 skill players that can be a threat at all times. And you think about through the years, it's been one game it's this guy, next game it's that guy. And I do feel like our offense has the ability to have multiple skill players that can hurt you from going past you or going over you. And we want to continue that success on offense.
All right, how about on the other side, defensively? You got a lot of new faces, but just guys that have to get the reps and the timing and all that. So what do you think about the defense entering the year?
Yeah, I think we wanted to improve our length and our speed. And I feel like there's guys out there that have some length and some more speed, but putting them in the right spot, they've got to do that together, and we've got to coach them well, and we've got to be put them in the best spots, their strengths. And so right now it's all about me learning as a coordinator what our guys do well. And you're saying, Coach, right now you're learning that. Well, no, we've been learning that, but as we play more and as we go through more plays, you find out more things. And it'll take, a little bit of time early in the season to see what we're good at, and then we will try to repeat that and do it again and again and again. If that's being more aggressive with pressure, 5-man fronts, 6-man fronts, or if that's, our ability to rush 3 or 4 and play great coverage. We'll see how we do. The other thing is I don't get to see the opponents. And so much of defense is, okay, who do you have to stop? Well, you got to be able to get some film on that.
Right.
And all these teams have completely different rosters. okay, and you just take University of Idaho, they don't have one senior on their offense.
Right.
Last year they had 9. So I can watch all I want about the offense from a year ago. I'm not going to get a chance to see them. So the adjustments we make during the week are critical, but more than anything, our fundamentals have to be great. Mm-hmm. And you've heard me say it, blocking, tackling, covering. You got to be able to get off blocks, you got to be able to cover it, and you got to be able to tackle. We'll be working on that. And when we do that well, consistently, well, it doesn't matter what scheme we're in.
Yeah. And then for you, when I know last year at this time, everything was new. You were going to be calling the plays. You'd done that before, but also managing the team and running the whole thing. Is that easier for you now in year 2 as you get ready for that?
I got some experience doing it. It was definitely having to switch your mind to a different thing, and I think I'm learning that a lot about being the head coach. Is you've got to be able to compartmentalize one thing, have your time spent and go all in on what you're talking about and be in the now, and then you got to switch modes. You got to go to the next thing, and so hopefully I'll do a good job. I know we want to continue to, be aggressive. I want a team that attacks, and so 4th down, decisions are always a huge part of the game, and we'll always lean on trying to win the football game instead of trying to lose it. So I think that'll be consistent. But I have done a lot of research on this new 2-minute timeout and how that's going to affect games, and I've got a whole video library of off-season, clock management things that you can learn from. Hey, what are you going to do if it's overtime? Mm-hmm. Are you going to play defense or offense? And so there's a lot of literature. At the same time, you got to know your team, and so there's that balance of analytics with you're in the moment. Your gut tells you do this, and then you got to make a decision. You got to live with it, and then let all the talk radio talk about it the rest of the week. So, no, it's a fun job. I'm looking forward to it. It's a challenge.
Still wearing all the hats. Yeah.
I think I got great support.
Yeah.
I do think I don't have to wear as many this year because there's more people helping me because they know what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. So I hope the hats get spread around a little bit, but ultimately, you're the head football coach. Yeah. You got to take, you've got to take responsibility for the program, and everybody's got to understand that this is what they expect, and I'm loving getting the opportunity to lead this program.
Yeah. That's awesome. I know that fans see the 12 weeks or hopefully more with playoffs, but gosh, you guys put in a lot of work. I know this is the exciting time, though, as the season's getting ready to start. Isn't this the best time for you? Best
time, yes. I love all the times of year because they're all different, but this is always the fun. Yeah. Some coaches, I hate the games. I love the games. Mm-hmm. There's nothing better than being out there and being with your players and going through a Saturday and having that smile on their face when they've played well and had success. There's nothing better.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, so in podcast 1, you heard about the defense and special teams. In this podcast, you got an update and a preview from the offensive coaches, and I think we're all excited about the upcoming 2024 season, which begins Thursday against San Jose State. We'll be back next week to recap Game 1, look ahead to Fresno State, and we're now off and running here on the Stingers Up Sacramento State Football Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Jason Ross. Tell a friend we're out there, and we appreciate all of you out there following us on a regular basis. That's it for us this week. Go Hornets. Stingers up.